If you're over 60, you've been told you need more strenuous cardio or expensive gym time. Stop. The truth is, the world's longest living people, Japanese elders, don't sweat it out. Their secret is hidden in 6 simple movements you can do in your living room, without equipment, and in less than 15 minutes a day. Stick with us, and we'll show you the 2-minute secret they credit for keeping their bodies strong and their minds sharp well into their 90s. This isn't exercise, it's the key to keeping your independence. But before we dive into the discussion, please share your age, country where you live, and any health issues you're experiencing that you'd like us to discuss. Write down in the comments section below so we can address them together. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video to help spread these benefits to our community and others who need it. Japan holds a globally recognized position as a super-aging society, boasting one of the highest life expectancies and the largest number of centenarians per capita. This phenomenon has prompted extensive global research to uncover the underlying mechanisms of their exceptional longevity. While discussions often center on the nation's traditional diet, particularly the consumption of fish and fermented foods and certain genetic predispositions, the key insights from recent longitudinal studies suggest a far more nuanced picture. Researchers, including those from prestigious institutions like Harvard Medical School, have determined that these factors alone do not fully account for the Japanese elders' ability to maintain high levels of functional independence and avoid chronic disease well into their later decades. The true differentiator lies not in dramatic, strenuous activity or expensive gym routines, but in a series of deeply integrated, simple daily movements that sustain the physical and neurological foundations of life. These movements serve as a form of non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT, that is constantly engaging the body's support systems, contrasting sharply with the sedentary lifestyle and occasional high-intensity exercise common in many Western societies. This chapter sets the stage for examining the 6 fundamental movements that represent the often overlooked secret to maximizing both health span and lifespan. For decades, the global scientific community has dissected the Japanese lifestyle, often concluding that their longevity must be primarily attributable to the highly publicized Okinawan diet or specific genetic markers within their population. However, advanced gerontology research has begun to pivot toward a deeper exploration of the role of daily, low-impact physical activity. The critical finding suggests that the constant cumulative engagement of muscles and neural pathways, what is often termed movement competency, is a more powerful predictor of health span than any isolated factor. Japanese elders maintain an active daily rhythm that prioritizes movement over sitting, integrating specific subtle motions that preserve joint lubrication, core strength, and balance capabilities. This stands in stark contrast to the modern Western model, where prolonged periods of sitting, a known risk factor for cardiovascular disease and metabolic dysfunction, are only sporadically countered by scheduled, high-intensity workouts. The 6 core movements highlighted in this series are not intended as substitutes for formal exercise, but rather as essential maintenance protocols. They represent an inherited wisdom that keeps the musculoskeletal and neuromuscular systems robust, preventing the atrophy and stiffness commonly associated with biological aging. By focusing on these accessible, non-strenuous daily habits, the Japanese demonstrate a passive, yet potent strategy for sustaining physical function and delaying the onset of age-related disability. The foundational evidence for the profound impact of these daily habits stems from seminal research, notably longitudinal studies conducted by international teams, including collaborators from institutions like Harvard Medical School. These research efforts were specifically designed to isolate variables beyond diet and genetics among superagers. The groundbreaking discovery was that elderly participants who consistently performed a set of 6 distinct, low-impact movements exhibited significantly reduced rates of functional and cognitive decline compared to their counterparts. Brain imaging technology further supported these findings, revealing that these specific movements, which are often dismissed as insignificant in high-intensity exercise cultures, actually stimulated critical areas of the brain responsible for coordination, balance, and spatial awareness more effectively than initially anticipated. Importantly, These movements require no specialized equipment, gym memberships, or strenuous effort, making them universally accessible. They function as a continuous feedback loop between the body's proprioceptive system and the central nervous system, enhancing communication pathways that degrade with inactivity. This chapter introduces the framework for the subsequent detailed analysis, establishing that the power of these 6 movements lies in their consistent integrated application throughout the daily routine, serving as a powerful non-pharmaceutical intervention for supporting lifelong physical and neurological health. The distinction between movement and exercise is central to understanding the Japanese approach to aging and is crucial for adopting these habits effectively. In the Western context, exercise often implies scheduled, high-intensity, and goal-oriented activities performed in a designated setting, often leading to periods of soreness or recovery. Conversely, the concept of movement, as practiced by Japanese elders, refers to the constant, subtle engagement of the body's musculature and skeletal system as an integral part of daily living. These 6 essential movements are deeply ingrained habits, actions performed naturally while gardening, socializing, or conducting household tasks, rather than activities requiring dedicated time blocks. This paradigm shift supports the continuous maintenance of functional fitness, ensuring that the body is always prepared for the spontaneous demands of life, such as preventing a fall or lifting an object. The goal is not to build muscle mass for aesthetic purposes, but to preserve mobility, flexibility, and the necessary coordination to sustain independence. By reframing physical activity as a series of essential, non-negotiable movements that support the body's natural function, individuals can integrate these practices seamlessly, thereby cultivating a movement culture that counteracts the debilitating effects of prolonged, habitual sitting and promotes a higher quality of life in later years. The tenugui shibori, or the towel twist, often appears deceptively simple, yet scientific studies have positioned it as perhaps the most potent of the Japanese longevity movements. This movement involves holding a simple hand towel tautly with both hands, extending the arms, and then performing a slow, controlled twisting rotation of the torso while maintaining constant outward tension on the towel. The genius of the shibori lies in its creation of an isometric contraction throughout the entire body. Unlike dynamic movements that utilize momentum, the constant resistance generated against the towel forces numerous stabilizing muscle fibers, including deep spinal and intrinsic core stabilizers, to engage simultaneously. Research has indicated that seniors who incorporated just 2 minutes of this practice daily demonstrated significantly improved vitality outcomes. The bilateral, coordinated nature of the twist also provides a profound neurological benefit, stimulating both hemispheres of the brain concurrently and promoting the formation of new neural pathways, which is critical for supporting sustained cognitive function. By demanding stability, controlled tension, and integrated breathing, the towel twist provides a highly efficient mechanism for supporting muscular health, enhancing coordination, and contributing to the overall physical resilience necessary for a long, active life. The effectiveness of the tenugui shibori, discussed in the previous chapter, is deeply rooted in the principle of isometric contraction, which has far-reaching implications for preserving health, particularly in the later stages of life. Isometric exercises, which involve muscle contraction without changing muscle length, are exceptionally powerful for stimulating muscle fibers and increasing strength without placing undue stress on the joints, making them ideal for older adults. The constant outward pull maintained during the towel twist directly challenges and strengthens grip strength, which epidemiological studies have repeatedly identified as one of the single most reliable predictors of overall mortality and functional independence. Furthermore, the isometric loading applied across the arms, shoulders, and spine through this twisting tension contributes to the mechanical stimulation required for maintaining bone density. This consistent full-body activation triggers the release of beneficial signaling proteins known as myokines, which are secreted by contracting muscles and act systemically to support anti-inflammatory processes and enhance metabolic health. Thus, the deliberate tension of the towel twist serves not merely as a simple exercise, but as a critical systemic modulator that reinforces the musculoskeletal foundation and preserves the robust physical markers associated with extended health span. The practice of seamlessly transitioning between standing and sitting on the floor, a habit deeply embedded in Japanese culture due to traditional floor-based dining and activities, is far more than a cultural custom. It is a profound functional movement exercise. The act of safely lowering oneself to the floor and rising back up, often without using the hands or requiring external assistance, demands an intricate combination of strength, flexibility, coordination, and neuromuscular control. This continuous cycle of movement, sometimes performed over 20 times a day by Japanese elders, ensures that the body retains its full range of motion in the hips, knees, and ankles. Crucially, research has demonstrated a significant cognitive benefit derived from this action. The complex motor planning required to modulate balance, synchronize muscle groups, and anticipate the center of gravity shift during these transitions actively engages the prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain responsible for executive functions like decision-making and planning. Therefore, each CISA transition serves as a hidden, potent form of dual tasking, simultaneously working the lower body for strength while giving the brain a significant workout, thereby supporting both physical capacity and sustained cognitive resilience well into advanced age. The true power of floor-sitting transitions extends beyond muscular strength, highlighting an essential relationship between complex movement and cognitive health. The process of moving from standing to a controlled floor-sitting posture, known as the sitting-rising test in some clinical contexts, is a sophisticated motor task that requires the brain to perform rapid, sequential planning and spatial awareness. As the body lowers and rises, the central nervous system must continually integrate information from the vestibular system, inner ear, proprioceptors, body position sensors, and visual input to maintain equilibrium and modulate muscle force precisely. This intensive real-time demand on motor control actively engages neural resources, particularly in areas like the cerebellum and the prefrontal cortex, the seat of executive function. Longitudinal studies have correlated the ability to rise from the floor unassisted with lower mortality rates, suggesting that the physiological competence required for this task is a robust indicator of systemic health and youthfulness. By consistently challenging the neural pathways with this essential life skill, Japanese elders maintain a high level of cognitive motor integration, effectively using daily physical tasks to sharpen the very brain functions that govern safety, planning, and long-term independence. The practice of ashi, or single-leg standing, represents one of the most clinically supported and widely adopted movements in Japanese preventative healthcare, often being incorporated into daily routines such as brushing teeth. It is fundamentally a direct challenge to the body's balance system, requiring the dynamic coordination of the musculoskeletal, visual, and vestibular systems. When an individual stands on one leg, the body is compelled to make thousands of rapid, minute adjustments, known as micro-adjustments, every minute to maintain equilibrium. This process significantly strengthens the stabilizer muscles in the ankle and hip, and more critically, sharpens the body's proprioceptors, the specialized sensory receptors that inform the brain about the body's position in space. Longitudinal studies have shown a compelling correlation between the ability to sustain single-leg standing for a specific duration and a markedly lower risk of falls and subsequent hip fractures, a leading cause of disability and mortality in older adults. By incorporating this simple static challenge daily, Japanese elders effectively inoculate their nervous systems against the gradual degradation of balance and coordination, actively maintaining the critical physical capacity required to catch oneself during a stumble, thereby securing long-term mobility and safety. The sustained practice of single-leg standing, or ashi, provides a direct and continuous stimulus for enhancing neuroplasticity, which is the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. When the body is challenged to maintain equilibrium on a narrow base of support, the nervous system is forced into a state of heightened activation. This process significantly improves the integration of the three primary balance inputs: the visual system, the vestibular system, located in the inner ear, sensing head position and motion, and the somatosensory system, which includes proprioception from muscles and joints. By consistently practicing ashi, individuals are essentially engaging in a form of targeted sensory motor training that strengthens the pathways within the cerebellum and motor cortex, the brain regions vital for coordination and learned movements. The brain responds to this frequent controlled challenge by increasing gray matter density and enhancing the speed at which it can process conflicting balance information. For older adults, this means a crucial maintenance of rapid reaction time to perturbations, effectively rewiring the system to better prevent a loss of balance and the subsequent risk of falling. This simple daily habit is therefore a powerful tool for supporting long-term neurological health and functional movement. The Shinko Suwari, or the deep squat rest, is a fundamental human resting posture that remains ubiquitous in traditional societies like Japan, yet has been largely abandoned in chair-centric Western cultures. This posture involves sitting with the hips lower than the knees and the heels flat on the ground, often maintained comfortably for extended periods while engaging in activities such as gardening or socializing. The significance of this position extends far beyond simple comfort. It is a profound functional requirement for maintaining the full range of motion in the lower body, its largest joints. Regular, sustained, deep squatting gently forces the hip capsule and the surrounding tissues to relax and lengthen, preventing the capsular tightness that often contributes to the shuffling gait and increased fall risk observed in older adults. Furthermore, the squat deeply mobilizes the ankle joint, an often overlooked area whose stiffness is a primary limiter of balance and efficient walking mechanics. By preserving the mechanical capacity to enter and sustain this position, Japanese elders ensure that their body's hinges remain pliable, effectively resisting the joint stiffness and loss of flexibility that commonly undermine independence in later life. The sustained ability to perform the deep squat rest, Shinko Suwari, is a key indicator of exceptional functional health, directly correlating with long-term independence. The mobility required for this posture ensures that the major joints of the lower kinetic chain, the hips, knees, and ankles, operate through their full natural range of motion daily. This routine loading and stretching prevent the collagen fibers surrounding the joints from becoming rigidly cross-linked, a process that accelerates joint stiffness and pain with age. Specifically, the deep squat uniquely targets the mobility of the ankle joint, promoting sufficient dorsiflexion, which is crucial for a stable, efficient gait and for maintaining balance on uneven surfaces. Furthermore, the position provides a gentle form of self-traction to the lower spine, potentially aiding in the decompression of intervertebral discs and mitigating the risk factors associated with chronic lower back pain. By consistently placing their bodies in this deep restorative posture, Japanese seniors proactively manage the structural and mechanical integrity of their weight-bearing joints, effectively preserving the foundational physical capacities, such as getting in and out of a car or recovering from a low fall, that dictate the difference between independence and the need for assisted living. Radio Taiso, or radio calisthenics, is a cultural phenomenon in Japan, serving as a 3-minute, daily, nationwide synchronized movement routine broadcast every morning since 1928. This gentle sequence, characterized by its flowing, continuous motion, is often performed immediately upon waking and represents a highly efficient strategy for maintaining articular and muscular function. It is distinct from Western static stretching as it emphasizes dynamic movement across all major joint systems, shoulders, hips, and spine, without holding strenuous positions or generating high strain. The routine involves arm raises, rotations, gentle torso twists, and shallow knee bends, all synchronized to a specific calming rhythm. Research indicates that this routine is highly effective because it gently elevates the heart rate just enough to improve systemic blood circulation while concurrently stimulating the production of synovial fluid. This fluid, which acts as the body's natural lubricant and shock absorber within the joints, often thickens and decreases with age and inactivity. By performing this routine, Japanese elders proactively ensure that their joints are consistently oiled and mobilized, contributing to the remarkable observation of low chronic back pain and fewer falls among practitioners. thus sustaining joint health with minimal effort. A key physiological benefit derived from the gentle, continuous motion of radio Taiso is its direct, positive impact on synovial fluid dynamics. Synovial fluid is a viscous, non-Newtonian fluid found in the cavities of synovial joints, serving as the principal lubricant and nutrient carrier for the articular cartilage. In sedentary or aging individuals, this fluid can become thicker, less abundant, and less effective, contributing directly to joint stiffness, limited range of motion, and chronic discomfort. The dynamic, non-strenuous nature of radio Taiso, which involves large, circular, and rhythmic movements, is highly effective at generating the necessary compression and decompression forces required to circulate and stimulate the production of healthy synovial fluid. Studies suggest that this routine can increase the volume and quality of this essential fluid, essentially acting as the body's natural oil change. This enhanced lubrication reduces friction between bone ends, nourishes the cartilage, and helps maintain the joint's shock-absorbing capacity. By consistently practicing this morning routine, Japanese elders mitigate the structural deterioration associated with inactivity, effectively supporting the biological mechanisms required for pain-free, sustained mobility. The practice of Sampo, often translated as slow or mindful walking, stands as a foundational movement for Japanese elders, distinguishing itself significantly from the high-speed power walking often advocated in Western fitness. Sampo is not merely about covering distance. It is an intentional, meditative form of locomotion performed at approximately half the individual's normal walking pace, often for 20 to 30 minutes in the morning. The core mechanism of Sampo's benefit lies in its precise synchronization of breath with stride. The technique typically follows a pattern such as inhaling for 2 steps, pausing for 2 steps, and then exhaling deliberately for 4 steps. This rhythmic, controlled breathing pattern is critical because it stimulates the vagus nerve and promotes a shift toward the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. This systemic calming effect is associated with reduced psychological stress and lower circulating levels of cortisol. Furthermore, the slow pace allows for complete foot contact with the ground, ensuring that all 33 joints in the foot are activated. This meticulous activation sends rich proprioceptive feedback to the brain, which in turn significantly enhances balance, spatial awareness, and gait stability, thereby offering a gentle yet powerful strategy for supporting both cardiovascular and neurological health. While often perceived as a simple form of exercise, the slow, rhythmic quality of Sampo yields profound, documented benefits for the cardiovascular system that surpass those of faster walking in specific populations. The synchronization of the breath with the slow, consistent pace has a direct mechanical influence on vascular health. Longitudinal studies have indicated that regular practitioners of Sampo often exhibit significantly reduced levels of arterial stiffness, a key indicator of cardiovascular aging and a major risk factor for hypertension and stroke. The intentional slowness, coupled with the deep, controlled breathing, appears to optimize the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of peripheral blood vessels, promoting more elastic and compliant arterial walls. Furthermore, the sustained moderate exertion helps regulate blood pressure. The meditative quality of the practice, which is designed to calm the nervous system, aids in reducing systemic stress, a known contributor to vascular inflammation. By embracing this strategy of intentional slowness, Japanese elders achieve a consistent, low-impact maintenance of vascular function that supports long-term heart health and circulatory efficiency without the high mechanical strain associated with strenuous cardiovascular exercise. The efficacy of the Japanese movement system lies not in the intensity or duration of isolated exercise sessions, but in the high frequency and seamless integration of these 6 simple movements into the fabric of daily life. The philosophy promotes stacking habits, attaching a new movement to an existing automatic daily ritual, thereby requiring no dedicated exercise time. For instance, practicing ashi, single-leg standing, while brushing teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil, transforms mundane moments into opportunities for functional training. Similarly, incorporating seiza transitions, floor sitting, by choosing to sit on the floor for meals, or while watching television ensures that critical mobility and core strength are maintained passively. This approach fundamentally shifts the relationship with physical activity from a dreaded scheduled chore to a continuous, automatic process of physical maintenance. By accumulating minutes of high-quality movement throughout the day, performing several short bursts of the towel twist or minutes of sampo, instead of relying on a single long workout, Japanese elders consistently stimulate their musculoskeletal and neurological systems. This consistent, low-dose challenge prevents the long periods of immobility that are detrimental to joint health and cognitive function, making the practice sustainable and ultimately more effective for supporting lifelong independence. A key physiological mechanism explaining the profound health benefits of these sustained, gentle movements lies in the release of myokines, specialized signaling proteins secreted by muscle cells during contraction. Far from simply acting as mechanical levers, muscles function as endocrine organs, actively communicating with distant tissues and organs throughout the body via these myokines. Movements like the towel twist, tenugui shibori, and the dynamic stretches of radio taiso, which involve consistent, low-level muscle activation, are highly effective triggers for myokine production. These molecules are believed to exert powerful anti-inflammatory effects, helping to counteract chronic low-grade inflammation, or inflammaging, which is recognized as a central driver of numerous age-related diseases, including metabolic dysfunction and cognitive decline. Furthermore, specific myokines have been linked to improved insulin sensitivity and may even cross the blood-brain barrier to support neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. By providing a continuous, gentle stimulus to their musculature daily, Japanese elders essentially leverage their own bodies to produce a potent, circulating medicine that supports systemic health, enhances metabolic function, and strengthens the body's internal defenses against the degenerative processes associated with aging. A fundamental divergence exists between the dominant Western and traditional Eastern approaches to physical maintenance in later life. The Western model often encourages a lifestyle marked by prolonged periods of habitual sitting, in cars, at desks, and on plush furniture, leading to structural shortening in hip flexors, loss of core engagement, and functional weakness. This sedentary baseline is then sporadically challenged by scheduled, high-intensity exercise sessions, often performed in a dedicated gym environment. This episodic approach, while beneficial for cardiorespiratory fitness, frequently fails to maintain the everyday functional mobility required for tasks like getting off the floor or navigating unstable terrain. In contrast, the Japanese model, as exemplified by these 6 movements, avoids the sedentary trap altogether. It prioritizes constant movement competency, the ability to interact flexibly with the environment. By routinely engaging in floor sitting and transitions, mindful walking and isometric holds, the body is never allowed to settle into positions of functional immobility. The focus shifts from achieving peak athletic performance to preserving minimum functional capacity, ensuring that the body retains its youthful plasticity and responsiveness. This comparison highlights why addressing the movement debt accumulated from prolonged sitting, rather than just adding more vigorous exercise, may be the more effective strategy for supporting long-term health span. The concluding chapter provides a clear, actionable framework for adopting the 6 Japanese movements and integrating them into a contemporary lifestyle. The objective is to translate the profound principles of frequency and functional integration into simple, manageable steps, circumventing the need for overwhelming lifestyle changes. The recommended starting point involves selecting just 1 or 2 of the movements, such as performing the 2-minute tenugui shibori upon waking or practicing ashi, single leg standing, while engaged in routine morning activities, to establish consistency without resistance. The key is to commit to minimal effective dosage daily, prioritizing habit formation over intense exertion. Once a movement becomes automatic, the individual can then stack the next practice, such as incorporating sampo, slow walking during a daily commute, or actively substituting a chair for brief floor-sitting periods. This roadmap emphasizes patient, progressive overload, recognizing that restoring mobility lost over decades of sitting requires gradual adaptation. By focusing on maintaining the body's essential balance, flexibility, and strength systems through these 6 low-impact, high-impact movements, individuals can proactively invest in their future health, supporting their independence and significantly enhancing the quality of their later decades, guided by the validated wisdom of Japanese longevity practices.